This is part 2 of a 2-part Tumbler tutorial, which I have titled the Jesus Word Tumbler. Now, let's go ahead and just recap what we did in part 1 of the video. If you have not seen that video yet, I will have that link in the description box down below so that you can check that out, because I do go a little bit more in depth with the creative process as far as typing up your words into your software and cutting those out on the vinyl and things like that. So in the first video, we did sand the cup, which I did not show that step and did not mention that, but we did sand the tumbler, painted the tumbler, glittered the tumbler, typed up our wording, cut all of that out on 3 separate vinyls. We have a white vinyl, a gold metallic vinyl, and an opal vinyl. I think it's called opal chrome holographic. And again, all of the products that I used in both videos, part 1 and part 2, I will list those in the description box if you want to check those out. So here again is just the words that we typed up. As I mentioned in the first video, I am trying to think of all the words that Jesus is and what he represents, and those will be spread around the tumbler with Jesus being in the center of the tumbler. So the tumbler is now on the turner, ready for the first coat of epoxy. However, I wanted to point out, you may notice that the glitter on this tumbler is different than the way it was in the first video. And the reason for that is because I wasn't happy with how the glitter looked too defined. I wanted the glitter to be more blended and mixed in together, not as an ombre necessarily, but a little more blended together. So I went back and added some more Mod Podge, and as you can see in this close-up, how blended the glitter is. And the green actually overtakes the peachy orange glitter to some extent. However, once everything comes together, you can see the peachy orange, and we are actually going to be adding a little bit more of that peachy orange glitter later on in the video, so you will be able to see that a little bit better. But I wanted to point that out and just let you guys know that I changed it and why I changed it. So now we're going to go ahead and put our first coat of epoxy on, and then it will be ready for some vinyl. Okay, so after our coat of epoxy dried, it was smooth enough to add the transparent vinyl on the top of the tumbler and the bottom of the tumbler. Now, the center of the tumbler where it has the glitter band, there were some pokey bits of glitter. So I did sand the center part. However, like I said, the top and the bottom was completely smooth. So I did go ahead and apply the transparent glitter. This is from BAMF, BAMF vinyl. And it is a gold, green, and peachy abstract transparent vinyl. Now, I also wanted to show you the top and the bottom of the glittered areas looks really messy. When I went back and added the glitter in the blended method, I was going to go ahead and put some striping around that band of glitter at the top and the bottom of the band. So when I went back and re-added the glitter in the new way, I wasn't super careful with where I applied the Mod Podge, and it did um, kind of seep in to the top and the bottom of the tumbler a little bit. And so it does look a little messy right now, but we will be fixing that with our striping, our vinyl striping. So, don't fret. It sometimes often looks a hot mess before the finished product, but I assure you it turns out super cute, and so not to worry. But as I mentioned, the vinyl is on. The glitter area has been sanded where it was had a few little pokey bits. So now we are just ready to go ahead and go in with our second coat of epoxy. Now, I normally do not use a fast setting epoxy. Um, I don't have anything against the fast setting epoxy. I just normally do not use it for whatever reason. I just don't. So it does take me a little bit longer to produce my tumblers. But that's just my personal preference. If you wanted to use a fast set epoxy, you certainly could, I suppose. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and put our second coat of epoxy. And when that cures, we will be ready for our wording. Okay, so if you watched part one of this Tumbler tutorial, you will remember that I mentioned about the offsets or outlines 0.03, 0.06, and 0.09. And if you'll remember, I mentioned that the way that I cut the lettering, it keeps you from having to overlap so many vinyls. So what I'm doing here is I am weeding out the outline or the offset of the 0.03. So I pulled the outline, or again, the offset, if you will. I pulled that away and discarded it. And for the opal chrome vinyl, I'm using the inside Jesus rather than the offset. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you're following and watching. The first Jesus is the 0.03, this middle one is the 0.06, and the very far right one is the 0.09. So again, I took the outline of the first one on the left, discarded the outline, and I'm keeping the inside of the word Jesus. I'm going to put my transfer tape on, burnish it down really well so that I can pull that up with ease. Now, I will pick out my next color of vinyl, And I'm just deciding if I want the white or the gold. I think I want the white. So see, that's the 0.03. This is the 0.06. So this time, rather than weeding out the offset or the outline, I'm weeding out the inside. And I'm just going to discard those letters, which you can reuse those for another project. And sometimes I do that. I will keep one or the other, either the negative space or the positive space, and use those again in something else. But here I'm just weeding out the center, which is the inline. And you see, if I had cut the entire word and then cut the entire word again in a smaller size, then I would have thick vinyl just overlapping one another. Whereas this way, what I can do is I can take that first Jesus that I cut and I can just place that inside the outline. And it's just so simple. It just lays right in there and just line it up. And now when you run your finger across it, it's just one smooth vinyl lettering. So we're going to do that again with the gold. This time I'm going to use the 0.09 and I will again weed out the center because I want to use that outline. So I'm just going to weed that out and then again we will place our Jesus inside that offset or that outline. So I'll go ahead and speed this up for you, but I'll let it continue to play, but I'll speed it up a little bit. Okay, so the camera view, it's a little hard to see what I'm actually doing on the Tumbler, but I was sort of more focused on the wording because this is a 20-ounce skinny. And I will not be able to use all of the words that I typed up because I actually made them a little larger than I probably should have. However, my thought process, I wanted the wording to be big and bold and noticeable. Um, I didn't really want someone to have to be super close to the tumbler to see the words and what they said, but they were a little bigger than I probably, like I said, than I probably should have made them for a 20-ounce skinny. Um, so, with that being said, I will not be able to use all of the words that I typed out. But that's okay because I can just make another one with different words, you know. So not all is lost. But you can see a little bit here. You can see the Jesus there in the center of the tumbler. And now I'm just picking out the words that I want on there and basically the words that will fit within the space. And I'm just putting some at different angles, some straight across. Again, no rhyme or reason, but just placing the ones on the tumbler that I want on there. So to the word Jesus so that you can see the 3 different vinyls. You see that gold background, and then you can see the white offset and the opal chrome holographic on the top. And that is all very flat and smooth. It's not bulky at all. Here is the striping, the vinyl striping. And I apologize. I thought I had filmed that portion of the process and I could not find that section. But I had a template in my cut files. It was pinstripes, and I'm not sure of the sizing of those. But if you have software such as a Silhouette or Cricut or whatever your machine is, you can simply make those the dimensions you want by taking a rectangle and just sizing it to what you need. So the length and width that you need for your tumbler. And that's all I did. And I cut that out of the gold metallic and the chrome, or excuse me, the opal chrome holographic. And I just sort of swapped those. So on the top of the band of glitter, I have the opal, the gold, the opal, and on the bottom I have gold, opal, gold. So sort of opposite, but the same. And this is where we are right now. So we're ready for our 3rd coat of epoxy. I would like to say it's going to be the final coat, but I am going to be adding a little bit more glitter with this coat of epoxy. So we may have to add a 4th coat of epoxy before the tumbler is completely finished. At this point, I'm going to sand and clean up the rim of my tumbler and just get that prepped so that if by some chance this happens to be our final coat of epoxy, the epoxy will have something to sort of cling to, and it won't be really bulky and sticking up at the top where it could get damaged and chipped. So let's go ahead and move on with that step. Look how beautiful this tumbler is turning out. I mixed up 15 milliliters of epoxy, and I'm just going to put that on the tumbler, and then we will be done unless I need to add one final coat of epoxy. But otherwise, this tumbler is complete. What? What'd you say? Sorry, I normally do not do my voiceovers when I am watching my grandbabies. However, I was so close to the end of this video that I was trying to get the voiceover done. But like I said, this tumbler is finished other than potentially a final coat of epoxy. And I really hope you enjoyed this 2-part tumbler tutorial. I hope you learned a little bit from it, and leave me a comment as to what you thought about the final outcome. And thank you for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell for notifications. And thank you all again for watching. Have a blessed day. And here is a sneak peek for the next video.